you indicate that my screen is being shared and maybe on full screen?
It's not on full screen, Kate. It is being shared. I think you might need to go to,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. These are the new Creative Youth. It's the Creative Youth Nurture Fund. And I suppose just from the outset, just to make sure that before you think of applying, I suppose it's great. The first step is to be here today to get more information, but also just make sure you read the briefing document thoroughly. So they have all the information that you're eligible to apply, that it is for you, and there is a lot of information on the submit.com landing page that's available as well. So we'll share some of the links as we go on to where that briefing document is, where the information is, the link to the submit.com application page. And also just to be aware that there's two other schemes as well. This is specifically the Creative Youth Nurture Fund, and we'll take you through that. There's also grant called specifically only for local authorities to apply for on creative health and wellbeing, and also creative communities. There's also the Word version of the application form. That's for information only for the two strands that I'm going to take you through. So just make sure you can use those Word versions of the application form to read, but you can only apply online. You can't submit a Word version of the form. There's other information on the submit.com that will be relevant, like information on past projects that we've funded as well. So this is just what we're going to go through today. We've already been given an introduction from Tanya Benatti, the Director of the Creative Ireland Programme. My name's Kate Delaney. I'm an Assistant Principal in the Creative Ireland Programme, which is a unit within the Department of Culture, Communications and Sport. We'll also have a few words from Muireann O'Donoghue, she is a Youth Participation Officer from Hope na Nog in relation to youth participation in decision making. We'll also have Aoife Murphy from the Shared Island Unit in the Department of Taoiseach to take you through the Shared Island element, the Shared Island Initiative. And then we will have time, we'll hopefully have at least 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. And as Tanya said, we might not be able to answer everything today, but keep an eye on the FAQ document. We will come back to you. We will update that document. So just from the outset, to make sure that you know that there's two strands available for funding. And Strand A is the Nurture Fund. So that is in relation to projects delivered specifically in Ireland by a partner based in Ireland. It is, the funding will kind of start from mid-2026 and be available up to the end, the projects to be delivered and finished by the end of 2027. We envisage that there'll be approximately 8 projects chosen for that scheme, and the maximum amount that you can receive for those projects are 100,000 per project. So there'll be funding in 2026 to get up and running, and subject to the normal annual budgetary process, further funding in 2027. There's also a Strand B, which is the Nurture Fund Shared Island strand. So that is projects delivered on a shared island basis, with one partner must be based in Ireland and one partner based in Northern Ireland. So very collaborative, and there is a bit more money available, and it's a bit longer term. I suppose the nature of shared island projects, they're about person-to-person engagement with young people on the island of Ireland. So they do take a lot more in terms of trying to get up and running, getting started, long-term engagement, a lot of travel. So the funding is available from mid-2026 up to the end of 2028. So there is a good bit there, and the maximum amount available for those projects, taking into account the costs that will be involved, is up to €250,000 available, and we envisage that approximately 6 projects would be chosen for that scheme. So just to give you a bit of background on who's organising grant calls, the Creative Ireland Programme, it's an all-of-government culture and wellbeing programme based in the Department of Culture, Communications and Sport, with the ambition to inspire and transform people, places and communities through creativity. We're committed to the vision that every person in Ireland should have the opportunity to realise their full creative potential. We're all of government, so across 5 pillars, we work with different departments. We partner with the Department of Education and Youth, Department of Children, the HSE, Department of Health, Department of Climate, so very much an all of government programme. In terms of the Creative Youth pillar, there is a Creative Youth plan currently from 2023 to 2027, which aims to place creativity at the heart of children and young people's lives through a series of expanded and new initiatives for those aged 0 up to 24 years of age, up to the end of 2027. And one of the key aspects of the plan is to ensuring children and young people retain a key voice in decision making on its implementation. The plan also prioritises those that are seldom heard and most at risk of disadvantage. So it's about breaking down barriers and making sure everyone, up to the age of 24 has the opportunity to engage in creativity. So where we've come from, we have done the Nurture Fund before. So this started back in 2023 as a pilot. We supported 9 projects from then to deliver youth-led creative engagement by young people. So the Nurture Fund was specifically based in projects based in Ireland itself, and it focused on those that are seldom heard, at risk of disadvantage, with youth voice at the core. So we listed a number of target cohorts of children and young people that we wanted to work with those organisations on the ground already engaging with those young people, and give them support them through funding and training to listen to those young people, give them a voice, and engage them in creative projects. So we had 9 really diverse projects at the time, and more is available on those projects. You can read more of them. We worked with the Irish Refugee Council on the Elevate Youth Arts. We worked with the National Concert Hall with Music and Mind programme. We Creative Spark on the Blooming Minds Club. We did Building Bridges with Ballyhora Development Company up in Limerick. We worked with Helium Arts on Journeys, which was a health and wellbeing project. We had the Glore Dance project, a dance project based in Waterford with Tracy's Dance Ensemble and Down Syndrome Ireland, Waterford South Kilkenny branch. We worked in Overstown Children's Detention Campus supporting Here I Am, young people in that campus doing podcasting. We worked with Feroga on City Instincts in Dublin City. And we worked with Limerick Learning Hub and Creative Aftercare Communities. So really diverse projects. We work with those organisations engage young people from the travelling community, those with long-term health difficulties, those from a refugee background, those transitioning out of care or in aftercare. So really inspiring diverse projects, and you can read more on our website about those projects. Then in terms of a shared island basis, through the government's Shared Island Initiative, which we will talk a bit more specifically in a little while, we did Creative Youth on a Shared Island, and that ran from 2024 until 2025. And it supported 6 projects to bring children and young people from across the island of Ireland together to nurture collaboration, understanding and hope for the future through active participation in creative projects. So we'd, again, a lot of diverse young people coming together through really intense, person-to-person residencies, performances. We worked with Tallaght Community Arts on To the Power of Three. We worked with on a shared island songwriting project with Music Generation Niche. We worked on Living Legends with Narrative 4. Future Parade with Macness. Shared a lived experience through creative arts with Exeter Northern Ireland, and creative connections with Fighting Words. You can see the breadth of locations that were involved, young people from across the island, from up north, down south, and east and west on the island. So when we talk about creativity, what do we mean? We mean it in its broadest sense. So it is really based on what the young people really want to do, but the possibilities are just so numerous. You can see there's animation there, comedy, creative writing, heritage, STEM, storytelling, street art and spectacle. So all types of dance, all types of music, all are welcome. Often, depending on what the young people want, so maybe your project knows the young people that wants to work with, but it might not necessarily know what form of creativity it's going to do, and it can consult with the young people on that. But the possibilities are very numerous. So in general, across the two strands, what are we looking for? So we're looking for creative and cultural projects that take place outside of school settings, and it's rooted in the local community. It should be shaped by the active input and participation of children and young people. It may be used for new projects, or it can be an existing project and you want to expand and build upon an original pilot idea or project. Evaluation should be a key element just to identify potential areas for future development. We see real benefit in learning for future. So the projects that we've done before would have all evaluated their projects, and we've learned so much, and that gets shared. So evaluation would be a key part, and it also encourages collaboration between organisations with a strong project team deliver quality interactions between young people through creative journey. So collaboration is a really strong element with these projects. You might not have all the resources with your own organization. So we find when organizations partner together, they really form a really strong base for those young people in terms of creativity, artistry, evaluation, research, and governance and that. So we welcome applications from youth organisations, community development organisations, arts and cultural organisations or institutions, family resource centres, charities or non-for-profit organisations, philanthropic or research bodies and foundations, creative organisations, networks, museums, galleries, art centres, education training boards, social enterprises, businesses and commercial companies. So, and all those organisations can come together and partner. Local authorities are welcome to be a partner on a project, but not as a lead partner. We do have two other open grant calls at the moment that are specifically for local authorities. So they can be a partner, but not a lead on a project. Now, just going to be a bit more specific about the two different strands. So it's very important that you kind of know the difference between the two strands. When you go into the application form, it will ask you which strand you want to apply for. So just be very careful that you know and you have the right information as to which strand you're going to go for. So Strand A is the Nurture Fund, and it's funding from 2026 to 2027. So there's up to 800,000 euro available for approximately 8 projects, up to a max of 100,000 in total for each. The delivery is between 2026 and funding also 2027, subject to the normal annual budgetary process. And both the project lead and activity should be based in Ireland itself. So this strand is looking for partners that can work with and have experience with the following specified target groups of children and young people from birth up to 24 years of age. So we have a number of cohorts here, and you can work with a number of different of these cohorts or be very specific and target one specific cohort. It can be those living with physical or intellectual disabilities and or the neurodivergent community, refugees and asylum seekers, those living with mental health issues, the LGBTQI plus community, the traveller and or Roma communities, those with or transitioning from the care system, within or transitioning from the care system, those engaged with the youth justice system, and those at high risk of socioeconomic deprivation. Okay, so some of the projects that we've done before would have worked with these cohorts. So, it would be useful to kind of maybe look at those projects and what they have done. But we're really open to working with new organisations and in new groups of young people in those areas. So that's the Strand A. If I move on to Strand B, is Nurture Fund Shared Island 2026 to 2028. So in this strand, there is up to 1.5 million available for approximately six projects, each with a maximum of 250,000 each. The delivery is a bit longer term also, so the delivery is available between 2026 and 2028. These projects must enable quality in-person engagement between children and young people from both Ireland and Northern Ireland. So we want these young people from Ireland and Northern Ireland to be able to come together in person and engage creatively. At least one project partner should be based in each jurisdiction. So when we did this before, we would have had at least one partner based in Ireland, one partner based in Northern Ireland. Participants should be aged between 6 and 24 years of age, and the scheme aims to support at least 2 projects that will target seldom heard cohorts. So again, they don't know, with the Strand A, they don't all have to target those specific cohorts. Some of them can be kind of more general, and we do want them to, of course, be inclusive. So inclusive of children and young people, but we would also see if there would be projects available that would be, more specifically targeting those cohorts as well. Overall objectives of Strand B. So it's the use of culture and creativity to foster person-to-person connection between young people across the island of Ireland and to provide space for meaningful interactions. To provide a greater understanding of the value of consensus amongst young people around a shared future, and to identify common themes of importance to young people through culture and creativity. Enable young people across a range of communities working with artists in the wider culture and creative sectors to experience creativity through the lens of their peers. Projects under this strand are encouraged to contribute to the themes of Shared Home Place programme, part of the government's Shared Island initiative. Now, we have done 6 shared Creative Youth on a Shared Island projects before that just ended this year. Really wonderful projects. And I encourage you to have a look. We have an interim evaluation report available online that takes you through the wider Creative Ireland programme. There was over 20 Shared Island projects delivered under our programme as a whole, and those previous 6 projects would be included. So it gives you a real sense of what was achieved previously. So just some other aspects to consider when you are making an application. So as I said before, evaluation is really key with these. We would ask that evaluator to be in place from the beginning of when you start a project. We really find that we've learned that that's really invaluable, as opposed to kind of an evaluator coming in at the end and trying to catch up with how the project has come. So we would always look for kind of an end of project written report. And also we'd ask you to apply the Creative Youth Evaluation Guidelines, completing a pre and post project evaluation form. That is available on our website. We can share the link to that. That's a really good resource, these evaluation guidelines for projects, to learn about evaluation, conduct best practice in evaluation. It was developed in partnership with the Trinity School of Education. And also talks about formative evaluation, which means evaluating your project as you go, making tweaks and changes as you learning as you go with the project. Also, there may be kind of other research ongoing by the department itself in terms of young people's engagement and creativity. So, when we kind of gather information through pre and post project evaluation forms, it helps us in making sure that these projects are part of kind of wider research also. In terms of the project team, we would, projects should have at least some there are creative projects, so they would of course include artists, creative practitioners, or culture and creative organizations. We would expect there to be a project manager, just to ensure a good kind of governance and keeping the project moving, so funding available for project management. We would expect there to be support for participants depending on the young people that you are working with. So often, projects may need youth workers, depending on the needs of the young people, maybe an occupational therapists, and support for the young people in terms of accessibility. We would, in terms of good governance, expect there to be some funding for accountant or financial services, ensuring that you are adhering to the requirements of grant management and spend, and also funding for an independent evaluator, so someone who is a bit objective and kind of really give you good insight into your project. In terms of governance and compliance, the projects will be managed through a service level agreement with the department, and there's available an example. It's kind of an example just to give you an idea of what elements are in the service level agreement that's available on the submit.com landing page. Just to ensure that you have appropriate policies and procedures in terms of safeguarding for children and or vulnerable adults. Because this is done through a government grant in terms of public funds, you would have to adhere to the circular in terms of management of an accountability for grants from Exchequer funds. So I would ask you to make sure that you're familiar with that circular to ensure you know what's expected, and as well adherence to things like GDPR, particularly when you're working with others in terms of images and information that you're sharing on participation. Engagement. We are, Creative Ireland is very supportive a program in terms of ensure that we facilitate capacity building and training events for grantees. We do often provide training. We would partner with Hub and Oak to ensure training on youth participation is available and on creative facilitation. There may be as well, you are like working with a government department, so there would be requests for budget updates and briefing material. So I suppose keeping that in mind as you're running the project to make sure that you're recording things appropriately, and there may be requests as you go along for information, for briefing material, etc. And also we've great support in terms of communications and in terms of engaging trying to spread the word about these projects. And we realize like not everything wants to be, not everything is able to be shared like so widely, particularly when you're working with very specific cohorts of young people. But we're here to support you in terms of communications, and we've got a great communications team to do that. In terms of budget, some of this has been mentioned already, but just the budget when you're putting together your application and trying to think of what you would need funding for, just to keep in mind these very important aspects: project management, as we said, accessibility and support for young people's needs. We can't stress enough how important that is, to make sure that the young people have the support and funding is available to ensure that they can actually participate in the project. Remuneration for the creatives and artists is important. Evaluation and having funding for documentation of your project. Maybe, that's the report, or maybe you want to do a kind of a visual documentation, having a sufficient budget for that. Showcasing and events, they can be quite expensive, so just make sure you give a realistic thought to showcasing and putting on events for the young people. Travel costs are really important, particularly with the Shared Island Strand. They can be significant, particularly with Shared Island. We want young people to be able to meet in person. So the travel costs, but also kind of having the staff support when young people are traveling, it all adds up. So taking that into account is really important. Materials, and then other, particularly again with Shared Island, taking into account foreign exchange fluctuations. You may be working with a different currency with sterling, so that's really important as well. Some ineligible costs include, not this is not exhaustive, but some examples of ineligible costs. Obviously, costs not directly related to the project wouldn't be eligible. Retrospective costs, so expenditure has to be based on when your project was approved. It can't be kind of based on activity prior or beforehand. It's the funding is not for building improvements to workspaces or venues or capital infrastructure. It's not for television series or standalone advertising campaigns, and we would cap kind of overhead costs. We wouldn't expect to see them kind of over 15% of the total budget, but there is, you can kind of take into account some extent some overhead costs relating to the project. So the marking criteria is also available on the briefing document. So here's kind of what we would be marking the projects on. This is a competitive scheme. So just to say, we've done these before. We've had a huge amount of interest in applications, and unfortunately, only a limited number of projects will be selected. So we'll be looking at the experience of working effectively with your target cohorts of children and young people, including the capacity to recruit the participants and facilitate meaningful interactions. We have learned, it's not always easy to get young people on board and stay with a project. So how you can demonstrate you can do that is very important. The project idea and its creative approach, the creative aspect is very important. You might not know exactly, you might not necessarily know that you're doing theatre, but you have to have kind of some idea of how you're going to engage the young people creatively. Approach to facilitating strong participation from children and young people in the project development delivery is really, really important. And so again, we'll take you through, Miriam will take you through youth participation, and there's lots of information available online and in the briefing material on that. The team structure, governance and feasibility, and also your plan for evaluating the project will be taken into account. So projects will be shortlisted and then reviewed by, they will be shortlisted by the Creative Ireland programme team, and also then those shortlisted applications will be reviewed by an assessment panel made up of representation of the Creative Ireland programme and other departments. So we will kind of have specific to the two different strands, the Shared Island team will be involved in the Shared Island strand, for example. And we do include kind of young people to, help make kind of the final assessment also. So like I said, funding is not guaranteed, even if shortlisted, it is a competitive scheme. And it will also, the assessment process will take into account, we want diversity of projects, particularly in terms of geography, diversity in the young people that will be involved, in the forms of creativity. We won't be kind of looking for, half the projects to be on, one form of creativity. We want them to be a diverse spread. So then here's some information on applying and some upcoming key dates. This isn't your last chance to kind of find out more. There will be some upcoming in-person networking sessions in Belfast and Dublin. So particularly in Belfast, that will be relevant for the Strand B, the Shared Island. And the idea of these networking sessions is if you need to get like partners on board to help you run a project or do an application, this is a kind of a chance to try facilitate some networking, and we've done this in the past with previous schemes, and we found it's really been really beneficial to potential applicants. So there's a networking session on the 14th of January in the Mac in Belfast. The link to register is available via the creativeireland.submit.com link. There's also an in-person networking session that will take place on the 22nd of January in Dublin. Those two networking sessions, they will also have information on the two other grant calls for health and wellbeing and creative communities. So they're the two grant calls available to local authorities. So you will get a really good picture of the different grant calls that are available. You can send in questions and queries after these dates to the Creative Ireland at ccs.gov.ie. Please put in Creative Youth Nurture Fund in the subject line so we know what it's in relation to, and we would ask you to send them in by Friday the 13th of February, because what we do is, if the questions we haven't thought of them before and we've got answers for that are relevant to everyone, we want to be able to update our FAQ document so everyone gets to see the consistent answer to specific questions and queries. And then the fund closes for applications at 1 p.m. on the 27th of February on submit.com. So what I would say, we say for every grant call, is start doing your application as early as possible. Don't wait until the last couple of days. It is an online system. We all know kind of our internet can be funny at times. So don't leave it to the last minute. We can't accept late applications, so make sure you give yourself enough time before that deadline to apply. And then we will endeavour to notify successful or unsuccessful applications by Q2 in 2026 after the evaluation process. So I'm sure it's been shared there, but in terms of the submit.com landing page. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to share a video from one of our previous shared island projects to give you a flavour of what we've achieved before. I think it'll be a good visual to be able to see what is possible. So I'll stop sharing this for a minute. Now, can everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So just bear with me.
No
It's very
sound.
good, there's no sound.
Oh,
It might be that you didn't put the share sound switch on when you were sharing your screen, so you might have to unshare your screen, and then when you click share, there's a button that says
okay.
include sound.
Just while
So-
that's happening, we can take some questions. So no, Katrina, if you're a local authority, you're not the main applicant here. And if you're a local authority, young people is not the main focus of creative communities on a shared island. So just to clarify.
I think this might work now, so I'm just going to share it. And can you hear that?
I think it's just important really for the young people in general. Like half of them probably didn't even know whereabouts Limerick was.
I didn't think I'd get along as well as I did with the Belfast girls. I thought there was going to be war.
It was scary at the start. I actually like how close we all are now. Like we all made really good friendships out of it.
So we'll meet up and like tell each other stories and like what it's like in the north and stories what it's like down in the south, because we're not in the same country.
The accent is a bit of a struggle, but we got there in the end and we understand each other great.
It's changed how I look at people from Ireland.
I suppose a lot of the young people, because they've been doing workshops with artists, they've had an opportunity to kind of immerse themselves more in the arts.
I really liked the screenwriting part.
I really enjoyed that one because I got up and was able to perform in front of everyone, and the illustration and the costume design.
It's made me more comfortable meeting new people, so knowing that no matter where you go and who you meet, you can build something off of it. It's been really nice to just, look into their life and where they're from, and then they learn more about you as well.
Meeting everyone from Limerick and seeing how different they are.
It helped you like come out your comfort zone, like talk to people. They like to try and switch it up, to try and do new things.
So yeah, I hope that gives you an idea, particularly on the shared island side, but also just from the aspect of involving young people, even in the documentation of our project, and how much they have to say and be involved. So really yeah, I hope that gives you a clearer idea. And we'll have more information at the in-person sessions as well at some of the other projects that we've done before.
And Kate,
So
there is a specific question there from Amy Butler in the chat. I wonder if you could take that one. Maybe you could
okay,
answer it while we hand over to our next speaker.
grand,
I
okay.
have the question here, or if you want to just answer it in the chat, sorry.
Yeah, we can answer it maybe in the chat. If then I might call upon Muireann now to maybe give a presentation on youth participation.
Yeah, thanks very
Hi
much.
Muireann,
Kate.
thanks
How
a
are you?
million. Just welcome.
Thanks a million. Okay, I'll just share my screen here then. Okay, great. So thank you all so much for having me here today. So I am the Creative Youth Participation Officer for Hubna and Oak. I'm here just to speak to you guys a little bit about what work we do in Hubna and Oak, how we support, and then I suppose how it relates to the grant application then. So the outline of the presentation today, I'm going to be giving you an introduction to Hubna and Oak, talking a little bit about the training and support. We've got resources and development, a little bit on our e-learning course as well, and then just some good practice examples. So what is Hubna and Oak? So Hubna and Oak aims to be a national centre of excellence on children and young people's participation in decision making, with particular focus on seldom heard children and young people, such as those who do not always have the same opportunities for a variety of reasons, such as intellectual disability, being a member of the travelling community, young carers, and many more. We support government departments, state agencies, and non-government organisations by providing training, coaching, development, and advice and support to organisations. We are an initiative of the Department of Children, Disability and Equality, or DCDE, and part of my role as a Creative Youth Participation Officer is to support programmes and initiatives funded by Creative Ireland, support local creative youth partnership coordinators, or LCYPs, and provide training along with Hubna and Oak staff. So just a little bit about the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, or the UNCRC. Some of you might be familiar with this convention, but for those who are not, it is the most ratified human rights convention. So internationally, the United Nations adopted the CRC in 1989, and then nationally, Ireland ratified the CRC in 1992, and this means that it is a legally binding agreement. The Convention on the Rights of the Child has 54 articles, one of which is Article 12, which is the right to express their views freely in all matters affecting them, with those views given due weight according to their age and maturity, ensuring they are heard and taken seriously by adults in decisions impacting their lives. So Ireland submitted its latest report in February 2022, and we have been helping to implement the suggestions given to Ireland by other countries in the UN since then. So we have our national, our participation framework. So to help guide people on how to make sure they are fulfilling these rights, Hubna and Oak and DCDE created the participation framework. This is underpinned by Laura Lundy's model of participation and decision making and provides a pathway to uphold Article 12. So this allows the user to have young people and children to participate with a purpose. That means that their views are listened to, they're taken seriously and given due weight, and the intention is there, their views will be influenced with an outcome or initiate some change. So then just a little bit about the Lundy model. The National Participation Strategy is underpinned by a rights-based model of participation developed by Professor Laura Lundy. In collaboration with Professor Lundy, a revised version of the model was developed for the framework. It provides guidance on the steps in order to take in order to give children and young people a meaningful voice in decision making. The meaning of space, voice, audience, and influence. Space is children and young people must be given safe, inclusive opportunities to form and express their views. Voice, children and young people must be facilitated to express their views. Audience, the views must be listened to, and influence, the views must be acted upon as appropriate. So then we have our checklists and feedback forms, which are based on the Lundy model. And just to say, these are all available on our website, and I'm going to put the link to the website at the end as well. So Hub na Nog has operationalised the Lundy model into practical tools. So we have our planning checklist, which gives guidance to departments, agencies and organisations on listening to children and young people. We have an evaluation checklist, which is a tool for self-evaluation, external evaluation, and to be used by departments, agencies and organisations. And then we have our everyday space checklist then, which gives guidance to adults on listening to children and young people and giving them a voice in decision making in everyday spaces. Then we have our child and youth friendly feedback forms. These are for children and young people to fill out. They act as a quality control, helping you to see if they feel actually listened to, ensuring the process wasn't just tokenistic or a tick box exercise. So as this is 20% of your total score in your application, it depends on how you involve children and young people. These tools are the best way to show that you have a plan to do that. The availability of the framework and the checklist is available on the Hub na Nog website. So then this model here is just explaining to you, we give that support. So I'm going to describe some of the training and support that we provide, but first I want to show you what the support looks like. Hub na Nog supports local creative youth partnerships, or LCYPs, and that is where my link would come in. I support these partnerships on a frequent basis to make sure they have the necessary training, up-to-date information, and can ask questions around their work to support participation in local children and young people. We also provide support to Creative Ireland with similar work. As we're sitting on the creative youth stream here of Creative Ireland, if you need training or support from Hub na Nog, the best way to get in touch is through Creative Ireland. In your grant applications, if you need additional resources or support, or you may feel you need training or support in an area you propose to work on, you can contact Creative Ireland in that instance. So, some of the supports we provide in Hub na Nog. So we do training and education. We have a website and e-learning, and there's lots of resources on the website as well. We have information sessions, and of course we do signposting. And then we have one-to-one guidance and support as well. So this is just an overview of our e-learning, which we have. And again, I'll put the link in for that too. So we launched our e-learning course in November 2025 to provide education around participation in children and young people, available to all. And while this does not replace our trainings, it is a good introduction for those who wish to know more. So then this is just some of the topics on the e-learning course. So we have an introduction to child and youth participation in decision making. We have the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child in Ireland, the National Framework for Children and Young People's Participation in Decision Making, and how the National Framework for Children and Young People's Participation in Decision Making can support you. So I have the QR code there. I don't know if anybody wants to take down just the email address there, which is learning@hubnanog.ie, or again, you can scan the QR code. What I'll do is I'll also put the email address into the chat when I'm finished. Okay. So we just have some good practice examples again, and I'm not going to go into these in too much depth. They are on our website, so if you want to have a look at them there's much more information there. So this was on how children and young people were involved in research analysis, youth creative participation and engagement across Laois and Offaly ETB. So they had inclusive research scope. The project analysed creative engagement among 10 to 20-year-olds across Laois and Offaly, specifically targeting seldom heard voices, including the travelling community, LGBTQI+ youth, and those in rural and disadvantaged areas. Child-centred methodology. Over 150 young people were consulted using safe, familiar settings, such as local youth clubs and interactive methods like circle time and wall of ideas to ensure authentic feedback. Direct strategic impact. The findings directly shaped the local creative youth partnerships work plan and funding decisions, with the feedback loop ensuring participants saw their suggestion results in real-world creative programs. There's also a case study I have here as well around involving traveller children and young people in decision making. And that speaks to some of the work that maybe would be similar to what you'll be doing. And just to mention as well that these case studies are much bigger pieces of work. So they're more just to give you an idea of what it looks like. And then I have further resources there on our website. So we have a resource library which you can search by keyword, which is really helpful if you're looking for something very specific. We also have the toolkit for including young children aged 0 to 5 years in participation in decision making. And then we also have our scoping document on the inclusion of disabled children and young people in participation in decision making. They would be quite useful for your applications as well. And then again, as I mentioned, it's all available at hubnanog.ie. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And as I mentioned, if there are any questions at all, our website is there. You can get in touch at hubnanogue or info@hubnanogue.ie, or again, if it is for the e-learning, it would be learning@hubnanogue.ie. Okay.
Thanks so much, Muireann. And you can see there's so many resources, which is amazing now. In terms of ensuring young people have everything they need to fully participate. So thank you so much. So I'm going to then introduce you to Eva from the Department of Taoiseach in terms of the Shared Island Initiative. So yeah, Eva Murphy, thank you for joining as well. And yeah, I can see your slides coming up now. So
thanks very much, Kate. Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks to Creative Ireland for asking me to speak here today. So my name is Aoife Murphy, and I'm an assistant principal in the Shared Island unit. We're based in the Department of the Taoiseach, and our role is to coordinate the Shared Island Initiative across all government departments. So I'm conscious of time, so I'm just going to give you a very brief overview of how the Shared Island Initiative operates, a very quick look at the Shared Island dimension to the Creative Ireland programme, and then just talk about our new dialogue programme, Shared Home Place. So the Shared Island Initiative began in 2020 and was established by Taoiseach Micheál Martin to harness the full potential of the Good Friday Agreement to enhance connection, cooperation and mutual understanding on the island, and to engage with all communities and traditions to build consensus around a shared future. The recent programme for government and the National Development Plan both reaffirmed the government's commitment to the initiative out to 2035 and have increased resourcing to the Shared Island Fund, bringing it up to a total of €2 billion. And through the strengthened Shared Island Initiative, the government is continuing its work to deepen connection and cooperation across the island and to invest in reconciliation for a shared future. And all of the work is undertaken through the values and principles of the Good Friday Agreement. The Shared Island Initiative is a whole of government initiative, and that means that it's delivered across and by every government department. It's also delivered through three key pillars. These are research, dialogue, and building a shared island. So just looking at research, and this is the pillar that really underpins everything else. The Shared Island Research Programme is looking at key strategic issues through an all-island lens, and it is providing the evidence to inform inclusive discussions and conversations about how we can work together for a better future. The latest report commissioned under the programme was launched by the Taoiseach and Minister for Finance last week, and it was looking at assessing economic trends in Ireland and Northern Ireland. The dialogue strand then is about bringing those conversations to life. It's about bringing people together from every community and tradition across this island to engage, listen and discuss hopes and concerns for the future, including how we can work together to address shared concerns. Dialogue has taken many forms over the course of this initiative so far, with the latest venture being the new Shared Home Place programme, and I'll return to that at the end of the presentation. Thirdly then, building a shared island. So this refers to the strategic all-island and cross-border investment that has taken place, including with support from the Shared Island Fund. So just to give you a little bit of a sense of how that fund operates. As I mentioned, it's a €2 billion commitment out to 2035, and over €600 million has already been allocated from the fund. This has been approved and allocated by the government and is being brought forward to deliver projects that meet Shared Island objectives. The allocations are made on a collaborative co-funding basis, but that means that they are made working with partners from across the island and also alongside funding from other relevant public funding sources. The allocations are made to relevant government departments, and they are then tasked with bringing forward projects in their policy areas. So in terms of concrete examples, many of you will be familiar with some of the large-scale projects such as the Narrow Water Bridge, the Ulster Canal, the hourly Dublin-Belfast train service. But apart from those large-scale capital projects, it's good to know that certain departments will also use their Shared Island funding to run programmes that will then open up and invite applications from the public. The best examples of these are the Shared Island Civic Society Fund and the Creative Ireland programme as well. Just in terms of how a shared island allocation works in practice, the most recent one was made last month in November, when the government announced over 50 million for 10 new shared island projects to be delivered over the next 5 years. So I've listed these 10 projects across the next couple of slides, but I'm not going to go into them in any detail. But just to give you a flavour of a few of them, there's a new Shared Island media programme being progressed by Comisiún na Man. There's support for the Shared Home Place Dialogue programme that I mentioned at the start. And there's also 14.5 million for creativity in the arts sector. And that will include a second phase of the very successful Creative Island Shared Island programme as well. Alongside these new projects, there is also a number of existing Shared Island projects that are now well underway and progressing in the background. So hopefully this has given you a sense of the breadth and diversity of projects that is underway across the Shared Island initiative and across all corners of the island. And if you're interested in finding out any more about a specific project, you can do so on our website, which is gov.ie/Shared Island. So just to talk about creative communities on a shared island, just by way of background. So in December 2022, 6 million was allocated to support creativity on a shared island basis. And the funding aimed to create more opportunities for cross-community cultural and creative initiatives for children and young people, to help local authorities strengthen networks of creativity, to position Ireland as a global leader in showing the value of creativity for mental well-being, and to deepen collaboration to make the island more sustainable and environmentally sustainable as well. I'm going to skip through the next slide because Kate covered off some of the great examples of projects under the Creative Youth pillar, and just in the interests of time. And I'm going to move to just talk a little bit about the Shared Home Place programme. So we're encouraging projects in this strand under the Creative Youth pillar to connect with the Shared Home Place programme. So this is a new dialogue initiative that was announced by the Taoiseach in April of this year. And the idea behind it is simple yet powerful. These are a few quotes from the Taoiseach when he launched the programme. And there's a growing confidence and willingness now to give space to the different traditions and viewpoints and to really recognise the heritage that connects us all. Every townland on this island has been shaped by multiple traditions. The differences are only in degrees or emphasis, and understanding that is a key part of reconciliation. So what we want to do with Shared Home Place is increase the opportunities for interaction and exchange across communities, across borders, and in every cultural and community space. So what is Shared Home Place? Well, it's the next phase of the Shared Island Dialogue Initiative. I think of it as the next chapter in our Shared Island Dialogue, but this time it's about building connections through place-based heritage. And the central question we're asking people to respond to is, what does a shared home place mean to you, past, present, and future? And our goal is to engage communities with both their past and contemporary heritage of their home place, and to spark an island-wide conversation through the lens of culture and heritage. So previously our dialogue programmes have been very much based in Dublin, based in Belfast, whereas we have a vision to bring these conversations out to every community, out to the grassroots communities right across the island as well. So in terms of who we will engage with, we want to engage with all communities and traditions across the island through Shared Home Place, from Irish, British, Anglo-Irish and Ulster Scots to our diaspora and new communities as well. And at its heart, this programme is about creating space for dialogue, understanding how every part of the island contributes to the whole, and building stronger connections for a better future. So the programme is framed by 3 themes. These are exploring what a shared home place means, acknowledging the diversity of identities and traditions across the island, connecting people through dialogue and engagement, and sharing lived experiences and heritage past and present. And then in terms of how people can engage with the programme, we have created 5 very broad-based strands. So there hopefully will be a strand that everyone will be able to connect with. So just to talk very briefly about them, the first one is built heritage. So this is looking at the buildings, architecture and heritage sites that shape our towns and landscapes. Then we have landscape and languages. So here we're exploring how language and landscape come together, also our biodiversity, climate and oral traditions, as well as Irish, English, Ulster Scots. And can you hear me still? Yeah, sorry. And other dialects that tell the story of place. Then we have cultural heritage. So this is celebrating creativity. So for example, the arts, music, literature, food, sports and folklore, all the traditions that connect communities across the island. Then we have Lives and Livelihoods, where we're looking at the lives of ordinary people and the work that shaped our shared home, from farming and fishing to industry, and how social and economic changes have influenced our identity. And finally, we're looking outwards with the final strand, Ireland and the world, where engaging the diaspora and new communities and exploring how global connections have shaped Ireland's sense of home. So, there'll be more information, and there is a page on our website at the moment where you can get more information on shared home place, and hopefully maybe it sparked some interest and ideas today for you when you're considering your applications. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I'm going to ask everybody to stop screen sharing. I appreciate it's 2 o'clock and I know that people are already heading, but just while we can all see each other, if you want to put your hand up and answer any questions, we can do that.
Yeah, I can see one there. So thanks so much, Aoife. That was really great to get a background, particularly for those that want to apply for Strand B. So thank you so much. So just I can see one there from Dermot Lambert. Can an artist resource organisations / private companies and services apply as lead partner? Yes, there's they can. Also, just to confirm, we did say that an organisation could apply for each strand if they felt like they had the capacity to apply for each, but we would be looking at a diversity of projects across the range of those that would be selected. There was a question about, that you can apply for the 3 funding strands, but just to kind of clarify, there's 3 grant calls. Ours is Creative Youth, which has the Strand A and B, non-shared island and shared island, but there's also 2 other strands for local authorities to apply for under Creative Health and Wellbeing and Creative Communities. And while they are for local authorities to apply, those local authorities can of course partner with organisations to deliver those projects. And all of that, in the in-person meetings in January would be able to give you more information and a chance to actually network, which would be great. Anything else?
Anybody else want to raise their hand? If so.
You can always, again, like we said, you can send in queries into the Creative Ireland mailbox. So there's so much opportunity to ask questions. Oh, Deirdre Scully, if you want to ask a question.
Hi there. Yes, sorry. I'm just wondering, on the Strand B, there cannot be any connections with involving students from schools from second level. It has to be totally youth projects outside of the school environment entirely, does it?
It does, yeah, because obviously there's a significant shared island within the Department of Education through schools. So ours is a non-school project, although sometimes things take place in the school after hours. People can use school buildings after hours, but this isn't a project to link schools north and south together.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you might recruit some different schools, but the school wouldn't be involved itself either, in terms of trying to get young people on board. But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Mary Sheehan. Oh, you're on mute.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Thanks a million. That was really interesting. I'm looking forward to delving deeper into previous projects. My question is, you did mention about expanding projects that were already done, or expanding what partners were worked with, that could be in a proposal or a plan. Suppose I just want to ask you about that and expanding who those partners were, and indeed developing it further to collaborate with other aspects. I'm sure asking that question, is that a good direction?
Yeah, hopefully this answers it well. Like, you can, so you say if you something has been worked on before with a partner or just yourself, and you decide, well, actually, if I get someone else on board, I can do more with this idea, that's very much welcome. You can have done something before and kind of say, listen, this is what we've done in your application. We would like to expand on this in this way. The funding will be in relation to the...
So it's looking at what has been done and seeing, and actually being very interested in a few of them, and seeing then how to expand, how to do more work in with those creative groups, and developing it further to do more collaboration.
Yes, I think that should be fine. If you've done work on something before, you should be able to apply to expand on that. Like what I would say is, in terms of the funding that you're applying for, it relates to the new part of the project. You can't retrospectively support something that's happened before, but it can be, if you see an opportunity to develop an idea that you've already started, that is welcome.
Yeah. Okay.
Is Deirdre Scully?
Sorry, that's okay. Thanks. I should take my raised hand down.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. Is there min-max number of young people that need to be involved in Strand B? So what we had with the last one is we didn't say you need this X many, a minimum number of young people. It's really about the quality of the engagement and the cohorts that you're working with. Obviously, it's not like a one-to-one project necessarily. It is about collaboration and group, young people coming together in groups, but it's not a numbers game in terms of the amount of people you engage. It's more about the quality. And in fact, what I would say about a max number, I just suppose it has to be realistic, and being able to genuinely engage with those young people. So, but we don't have min-max numbers.
No, but we are trying to get a balance. So you couldn't have, for the sake of argument, 20 young people from the Republic of Ireland and 2 from the north of Ireland. So there'd have to be a sort of a sense in which the numbers of young people north and south it doesn't have to be exact, but there isn't a massive imbalance in those numbers.
There is a question, sorry, about extracurricular program as part of the participant base. So extracurricular outside of school, that should be fine. I suppose it's not for a school itself or a school program or the school being involved, but if it's linked to kind of a extracurricular separate outside of school program, that is fine. Then, sorry, Fiona from KidZone.
Thank you. Hi. Will there be an information session about creative health and well-being and creative communities like this, or is it just the in-person days to get information on those?
There won't be an online, it'll be the 2 in-person days.
Okay.
That'll be available.
And when you say they're targeted towards local authorities, can organisations then partner with local authorities and the local authority makes the application with our support? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Grant, I don't see any more. So this will be shared, this information session. And loads of resources available on the submit.com link. So there should be loads of material to read. And like we said, read the application form, familiarise yourself with the brief, and ask us questions as they arise, and we'll do our best to answer all of them. You indicate that my screen is being shared and maybe on full screen.
It's not on full screen, Kate. It is being shared. I think you might need to go to...
oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the new Creative Youth. It's the Creative Youth Nurture Fund. And I suppose just from the outset, just to make sure that before you think of applying, I suppose it's great. The first step is to be here today to get more information, but also just